Now, one of the easiest ways to invest is the stock market. Now, stock market scares a lot of people, scares a lot of our parents' generation, and you should be very wary about it because it's kind of weird right now. But there's never been an easier time for individuals to invest. You obviously need to be careful with stocks. A couple things you need to avoid. You don't want to really get into leverage stocks. So, let's say I put $1,000 down and I get access to $10,000 worth of stocks. What that means is, that means if that stock goes down just a couple dollars, you lose your entire $1,000. So be very wary of leverage stocks. Don't do anything wild with it, and you'll probably be okay. Another thing, you're worried, well, what if the company I buy goes to zero? Well, that's possible. That's why if you want to kind of do a low risk investment in the stocks, you buy ETF funds, NASDAQ funds. Basically, instead of buying one company, you basically buy a fund. You buy into a fund that invests into hundreds or dozens of other companies. That way, if one of them goes to zero, you really don't lose that much money. Now, if you want to go high risk while you're young, that's fine. You can invest directly into a stock like, Tesla would be a high risk. There's a good chance you could double your money in a year, and there's a good chance that you could lose almost all your money in a year. So when you're young, it's okay to make some risky investments. Just stay away from leveraged. Stay away from, just crazy high risk penny stocks. Unless it's, you're just putting a little bit of money in, that's fine. But you should be focused on long-term investing and putting those money in ETF funds, stuff like that you think are going to have slow, controlled, and consistent growth until you retire. That's really how you're going to build up that wealth. All right, so let's say the stock market's not for you or you don't trust it. There's a lot of reasons you wouldn't want to do that. What's some other options? Well, another option would be to invest in property, something like a rental house or just property that you think is going to go up in value. And you may think, well, I'll never be able to afford a rental house because I'll never afford a original house. And I thought the same thing too, but I worked on the weekends, I worked in the summers, and I was able to actually use my old house as a rental house and buy a new house without having to take out money from the old house. So essentially, if you do work hard enough, you could potentially be able to afford a rental house. And a rental house is a great investment because if you invest in a place where the property value goes up, then you're gaining property value. And if you get good renters in there, they will actually pay for your mortgage and stuff like that while the house is building equity. So it's kind of like this free, they're paying for you to build up wealth while you're also providing them a very important service. You're providing them some place to live. So rental house is a great thing. There's a lot of tax incentives on rental houses as well. Let's say that's not for you. There's some other weird stuff out there. One of the teachers here actually sells pigs, makes a pretty good extra chunk of change selling pigs. So they've invested in some infrastructure on their property where they can raise livestock and sell it and stuff like that. So feel free to get creative on this and investing stuff. No one says you have to do it the same way everybody else does it. This is kind of the other end of the spectrum from stocks being the easiest to this one being the hardest. The picture's kind of blurry here. Investing in a small business. So actually opening your own small business, using your own money, putting your own money at risk to open a small business. This one's a tricky one. You got to really know what you're doing. It has to be a business that you know a lot about before you start it. It has to be a business that actually has a demand, and it has a demand that you can actually keep going for a long time. So don't think this is something everybody can do. This takes someone who's very motivated, very focused, and who is smart enough to understand what the need is in that community that they're trying to open that business. I have a friend who started a roofing business. He knew enough about the game. He knew enough about all the people, all the connections he would need, how to get a hold of contractors, how to get the material, stuff like that. And he has a pretty successful business. Okay, now if you look around town right now, there's like 100 different weed stores in town. And so if you think, well, I want to open a weed store when I graduate, well, that sounds cool, right? But realistically, that's not going to happen. There's too many stores. There's too much competition. So think about things like that before you have this grand idea of opening your own business. It is a way to make a ton of wealth. There is a lot of risk. There's a lot of reward. Let's keep that in mind. Last thing I want to talk about are some of the newer things coming out, cryptocurrency. So, I was talking bad about cryptocurrency earlier. Realistically, you don't know what the future with this stuff is. It's an emerging technology. Make sure that when you start investing in weird stuff like this, and there's probably stuff that I haven't heard of yet that you will come across when you kind of go out into the real world, make sure you do your homework. Make sure that if you invested in something like Bitcoin, that you could lose all that money. Just pretend like it's gambling. It's not investing. It is speculation. It is gambling. But people go down to the casino and drop $1,000 each day. So if you look at it that way, really cryptocurrency is not that bad of investment. And Mr. Cox is not going to be the old guy that says never say never, right? Or who isn't going to say never. Okay, so there are some new crypto things out there called DeFi or decentralized currency. I think that's what it is. Decentralized investment. Anyways, DeFi. The basic idea is, if someone really really needs money, they go to one of those loan sharks, those payday advance stores and stuff like that, and they charge them 600%. Well, the future, and I don't know this for a fact, would be instead of that person going to that loan shark, they would actually go to a decentralized finance institution and they would get the loan from there. And instead of paying 600% interest rate, they'd only pay like 20 or 30% interest rate. And the people who invested on that, which is the average person will be able to invest in that things, will be able to make a pretty good return. Now, they're not going to be able to double their money every year, but as we saw with as little as a 5% return, you can make a lot of money if you invest small amounts over a long period of time. So there are some DeFi situations out there, which may or may not be the future. I don't know, but be skeptical about cryptocurrency, but don't be the person that says never say never. Okay, just be very careful. There might be some amazing investment opportunities in crypto where you can make a guaranteed return, low return, once again, under 10%. Anything over 10% is probably a scam. But that'll be something interesting to watch for as you kind of, get up to my age. And that's all I have, guys. Thanks for listening.